Hi guys, today's lesson for those of you stuck at home is adding integers. Now you've been adding integers your entire life in school. They've just all been positive integers. They've been numbers with no sign, which means they're automatically positive integers. We're going to start adding negative integers as well. So because we started with positive integers back in kindergarten and first grade, we're going to start with them as well. Remember, when you were adding back in elementary school, you were adding numbers with the same sign. So you added them together and they stayed the same. So that is the first rule of adding integers. Rule number 1, if the numbers you're adding have the same sign, you're going to add them like you normally would and keep the sign the same. Let's look at example 1. Here I have 10 plus 3. Since there is no symbol in front of 10 or 3, both 10 and 3 are positive, just like the numbers we've used in the past. So I'm going to add them together. So 10 plus 3 is 13. They are both positive, so the answer is positive 13 or just 13. Let's look at our next example. Our next example is negative 6 plus negative 2. I know they are negative because of the negative symbol in front of them. Because they are both negative, I know that my answer will also be negative. And I'm going to add like usual. 6 plus 2 would be 8. So negative 6 plus negative 2 is also negative 8, since they all have the same sign. Our next example is negative 7 plus negative 8. Again, both of my integers are negative, which means my answer will be negative as well. So I'm going to add 7 and 8, or negative 7 plus negative 8, and I get negative 15. And we will do one more example of adding integers with the same sign. Here we have 5 plus 11. Both are positive numbers, so I'm going to add and keep my answer positive. 5 plus 11 is 16. They're both positive, so my answer is also a positive number, positive 16. So that is how you add integers that have the same sign. You're going to add the numbers as usual and keep the sign of both the same. So if all the numbers you are adding are negative, your answer will also be negative. If all the numbers you're adding are positive, your answer will also be positive. Rule number 2 for adding integers. If the numbers have different signs, meaning one is negative and one is positive, you're going to subtract them and keep the sign of the larger number. Now here's the trick. The larger number does not mean the greatest value. It means the one that there is more of. And I'll explain that with some pictures. Here we have our first example. Negative 4 plus 7. Notice only negative 4 is negative. 7 is positive, so they have different signs. That means I have 4 negatives and 7 positives that I'm combining together. Each set of negative and positive numbers creates a zero pair. So one negative and one positive make 0. So they cancel each other out. So I have 4 0 pairs that are canceling out, which leaves me with 3 positives left. So it's the same as if I had done 7 minus 4, the larger number minus the smaller number. 7 minus 4 is 3. And then I look, I had 4 negatives and 7 positives, which means I had more positives than negatives. So my answer would be a positive 3. And you can see in our little sketch why that is true. My next example is 5 plus negative 3. 5 is positive and 3 is negative. So they have different signs. That means I'm going to subtract 5 minus 3 to get 2. I look and see I have 5 positives, 3 negatives. That means I had more positives than negatives, so my answer will be a positive 2. So let's look at the sketch. Here we have 5 positives and 3 negatives. We're going to cross out our 0 pairs. We have 1, 2, 3 0 pairs that cancel out, and I'm left with 2 positives, which match my answer of positive 2. For our last example, we'll do negative 17 plus 9. So again, we have a negative and a positive. They are different signs. I have more negatives, so I'm going to do 17 minus 9. 17 minus 9 is 8. Because there are 17 negatives and 9 positives, there are more negatives, and my answer is negative as well. So negative 17 plus 9 is negative 8. Let's check our sketch for our 0 pairs and make sure we are correct. Here you see we have 17 negative counters and 9 positive counters. We're going to cross out our 0 pairs. That leaves us 8 negative counters, which matches our answer of negative 8. What about when we have more than 2 digits in an addition problem? Well, my tip to you would be to combine all of the same type of integers. So I want to combine all of my negative integers together first, and then I'll combine all of my positive integers, and then I'll rewrite the problem. So first I have negative 2 plus negative 7, which gives me negative 9. Then I'm going to add negative 1, which gives me a total of negative 10. Again, that was negative 2 plus negative 7 to get negative 9 plus negative 1, which gives me negative 10. Now I'm going to combine my positive numbers. So I have positive 3 and positive 5, which gives me 8, and I have a positive 6. 8 plus 6 is positive 14, so I'm going to add that to my problem. So 3 plus 5 plus 6 is 14. Now I have negative 10 plus 14. I have my 2 different signs. I have 10 negatives and 14 positives. So I'm going to do 14 minus 10, and I get 4. I look and I see I have 10 negatives, 14 positives. There are more positives, so my answer is positive 4. So you can see it does not matter how many integers I'm working with. I take each one step at a time. If I have multiple negatives along with multiple positives, I'm going to combine the signs first, combine all your negatives, combine all your positives, and then simplify your final problem.